So this is my presentation on category 6, how did the deal work out? So what we had to do was we either had to pick a merger or an acquisition, and it had to happen somewhat recently. And a merger is when two companies join forces and create a whole new company name and have a whole new company basically. While an acquisition is a larger company buying out a smaller company, and the larger company ends up absorbing everything with the smaller company. So the acquisition that I ended up choosing was the acquisition of Lightwire by Cisco. And Lightwire was a small IT company, and Cisco was the worldwide leader in IT and networking. And so the reason that Cisco ended up looking into acquiring Lightwire was that Cisco wanted to have access to the photonics technology that Lightwire had. And photonics technology is the detection and manipulation and generation of light, basically. And this was going to help improve the products that Cisco had already had. And so after the acquisition, the Lightwire employees were part of Cisco, and they would all still use the same resources and the procedures to operate that they did every day, but now they were using the values and principles of Cisco. And one of the questions that we had was, did the acquirer pay a premium for the target firm? And yes, they did. They ended up paying $271 million. And this was a premium strictly because Lightwire got way more than what they should have gotten because it was such a small company. And the reason this happened was because the deal was more equitable for Cisco in the long run. Cisco knew that this acquisition would help reduce the costs that they had been incurring during all the production activities that they had. And another question that everyone usually has is, how did the market end up reacting to this acquisition? And directly, that Cisco did end up having the support that it needed from its directors and shareholders. And the other way that the market ended up reacting was that Cisco ended up having to counter other offers that Lightwire was receiving, and this did cause some unrest in the market atmosphere. But overall, the market ended up reacting as well as they could. Once they found out that Cisco was acquiring even more technology because it was the leader in IT and networking. So now we want to know what some of the reasons for this acquisition were. And the first reason was that the deal was just more equitable for Cisco, and we knew that this was going to minimize the costs that had been occurring. The next one was that it was going to have vertical integration by Cisco. And vertical integration is when a company will expand its business operations into different steps of the same production paths. And this was going to help reduce costs and improve overall efficiency for Cisco. Also, with this new photonics technology that they were acquiring, it was going to help lower the costs for the manufacturing the routers that they were. And Cisco's main product was these routers. Also, overall, they were going to start producing better quality products and have higher profitability. So everyone always wants to know what were the problems. And there were really only two obvious problems. And this was that Lightwire was reluctant to create the deal with Cisco at first. Lightwire did not think that they needed to be bought out. They wanted to keep the photonics technology to themselves. They thought that they could handle bigger scale production. But in the end, they realized that they did need Cisco. Also, Cisco needed to make sure that the deal was going to end up being profitable just because they were paying such a high amount. Usually $271 million isn't what you would spend on such a small company like Lightwire. And lastly, everyone wants to know, was the deal successful? And yes, overall, the deal was very successful. The problems that we discussed earlier were solved very quickly. And in the end, the amount that Cisco did end up spending on the acquisition would be made back in 2 to 3 years. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that.